So here they are, both of them. Well, there's more Howards in the curling world, but the two that we're going to talk to today, Glenn, Scott, thanks for coming. Well, you didn't come anywhere, but thanks for being with me.
My pleasure, DJ. Great to have us. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having us.
So you guys are, I don't even want, like, it's going to sound brutal, but growing up anyways, not you, Scott, sorry. Glenn, you were like one of the guys, like, because I was in junior curling in like the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you and your brother Russ were like it. You were the guys you look up to in junior curling. Now, Scott, you get that same thing. The junior curlers are looking up to guys like to you now. What kind of what does that mean to you guys to be such an important part of young curlers' identity with the sport?
Well, yeah, it's pretty cool, DJ, to be honest with you. I've never really looked at it that way. I get it that some people look up to me and say up to my brother and this sort of thing. A lot of it's because we're a lot older and we've been around the block. But on the same token, I guess we've been pretty successful over my career. I've been pretty successful, and I guess the kids alike look up to that part of it. They've seen the type of style of curling that I've played over the years and seen me on TV and that, so to speak. And as you know, I'm still playing. So I think it's really cool that, when I hear the young kids today will still look up to me. And the reason I say that is, I'm still in the talks of the Kevin Cooies, the Brad Jacobs, the Jennifer Jones, all the people who are a lot younger than me. And yet I'm still in that conversation. That kind of makes me feel pretty good.
What about you, Scott?
And then, yeah, same thing for me as well. I've never looked at it that way. As people always said, like, "Oh God, Glenn Howard's your dad," and it's never fazed me at all. It's always been pretty cool to be in that spotlight. But for junior curlers and bantam curlers to look up to me, I've always found it super super cool. Going to Grand Slam events, playing on TV, playing in front of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. And then a little kid comes up and asks for your autograph. It's the coolest thing in the world. So it's been amazing, and just been having fun ever since.
So I don't know, Glenn, if you didn't have like little rocks when you just curled then, right?
We did. It was just the big rocks. That's all we ever had. Yeah, like we grew up, I think it was about 10 years old when I first started. And a lot of it was because they only had the big rocks and 6, 7, 8 years old, you couldn't get them down to the other end. So there was never really any thought of curling. So it kind of waited till you were old enough and strong enough to get them to the other end. And that's all we ever had was, so I was about 10 years old when I started, and then obviously haven't looked back.
Yeah. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, we've had little rocks since the day I was born. My fondest memories are my dad, Russ, and my poppy put me on a rock and about 3, 4 years old, and then pushing me down the sheet. And they're following me down there. It was pretty cool. So you know what? That was the start of my career, to be honest. And we grew up in the Penetang Midland Curling Club, and it was awesome. There was a lot of kids there that took up curling. And to have my poppy and my dad and my uncle Russ to teach me, it's just forever grateful for that, because it's been a blast.
Here's the thing for you, Scott. I wonder if this is anything you ever encountered. When you're in bantams, once you get to juniors, when you get to the high end, everyone kind of knows each other. But when you're in like bantams and you start winning your zones and your regions and you start branching out as that gets further, did you ever show up and get the like, oh my God, that's a Howard? Because they hadn't played against you before, and they're like, who is it? This 15-year-old's a Howard. What are we supposed to do here? Like, did you ever get that type of stuff?
That's a good point. Yeah, because we played bantams all for a long time, and you play in your inner clubs, and then you go to a different club, and you're like, who's this player? Who's this? And then juniors, you're like, who's the who. And unfortunately, I got that spotlight wherever I went with this guy walking in the door and Uncle Russ. So. Yeah, it's something I've had to live with, and I've had a couple eyes on me, but it is what it is, and I'm super happy and I'm proud to be a Howard.
I mean, in the world of curling, why wouldn't you be, right?
Yeah.
It's about the top. So let's get to some of the questions that were sent in here. So these are wide ranging from people all over Ontario and all sorts of different topics of conversation here. So this first one is from Pauline, and she's from Peterborough and the Peterborough Curling Club. Specifically for you, actually, Glenn, how do you find skipping now that you cannot sweep your team's rock or your opponent's team's rock in the house? Does that change strategy at all for you?
Well, that's an interesting question, Pauline. Obviously, you're talking about the COVID restrictions that we're playing under the last couple of weeks and moving forward. Not so much. It doesn't change strategy by any stretch, but it's just different. It's your hands are tied, and that's kind of the best way to put it. You go for over 40, almost 50 years now. I've been playing curling, and I if I, as a skip or whatever, the rules, and if the opposition rock gets over the tee line, you go to sweep it, and you're just inherently you're going to jump in there and try and do it. And obviously, I can't do that now with the rules the way they are. Basically, the skip doesn't sweep at all, which doesn't upset me that much. But on the same token, you just automatically you see that the rock hits and two rocks are going over the tee line, and you can't sweep this, and you don't know what to do. But it doesn't change any. To answer the question, it doesn't change strategy at all. It doesn't really change much. It's just a matter. I'm actually a little bit colder, and it's just a matter of getting used to those rules. And again, there's been lots of COVID talk, and what I love about this is, there's different rules and masks and stuff, but we're curling. That's what I love about it. Yeah. We're actually still curling. We will put up with masks. We'll put up with social distance. We'll do whatever it takes. I love the fact we're curling because the other thing we could be doing if we're not curling is we're just sitting at home watching reruns. So, it's worked out so far, and fingers crossed it's going to continue for the rest of the season.
Okay, I've done this before, and just because you said watching reruns, do you have a favorite shot of all time? Both of you? I know mine. Off the top of my head, I can tell you mine.
I got a favorite for mine, and I got a favorite for him as well. If
Okay.
My favorite, I think, will have to be my final shot against Joel Jorgensen in the Brier.
Got the double off.
Yeah, the ricochet, whatever they call it. That was kind of cool. I think because it ended up being we were down 2 coming home. I made the shot. We got 3. We weren't sure. I remember the whole team. We're talking to Richie Hart. We're not even sure it was there. You just try and hit it in the right spot, and then when it comes off, you're just ecstatic. And then to get the 3 and to win the game was just put it over the top. So that's probably my favorite. And I like it. To me, I'll answer yours with you. The shot you made against Gushu a couple of years ago in Halifax. He made this unreal slip triple for 6 against Brad Gushu. And I was over in Estonia coaching Team Muirhead and watching the line scores, and I see Brad gets 1, Scott gets 6, and I thought it was a typo. I thought this kid, Gushu doesn't give up 6, and saw the highlight. It was an absolute pistol. Really cool.
I'm gonna have to find that one now.
Personally, that would be my favorite shot for myself. I'm skipping our team in Halifax, and Dad took off to Estonia, and I took the ropes, and we had a great week going into it, and then we were up to Brad Gushu in the final, and I told the boys, let's give an A game, and I had a shot for 6 in the second end. We gave up an okay steal in the first end, so we're like, okay, we're down 1, so I had a shot for 6, and I said, boys, I'm playing it. It's a thin shot. We can miss it. We can go down a couple, but I said, I've got a lot of confidence. Let's play this. So I played the thin double, and all the rocks settled. We got 6-ender and held on to the lead and won the championship. But my favorite shot would for my dad throwing would have been, I'm gonna get the year wrong probably, but it would have been 2017. We're in the provincial final. We're playing John Epping. Richie Hart's on the team, Adam Spencer, and myself. Brantford. Yeah, and John's got a great end set up for the steal for the win. And we had I'm going to get this wrong, but there was too many rocks in play. We were throwing a run back, and we had to pick one off the button. And anyways, we had to hit it perfect. And Dad threw a great rock. Richie called it good, swept it good. And next thing you know, we made contact. The rock we wanted got to the house. And next thing you know, we're all looking at each other. We're like, well, we did it. Brooms went up in the air, and it was a blast. So that was probably my favorite shot to be a part of, and it's been a blast.
That's awesome. One of the things I always find interesting, and I this goes way back to Glenn. Your brother was skipping, you were third, and then you had Wayne Madaw was lead, I think, or second.
Wayne Madaw second, and Peter Corner was our lead.
So now that team, every single player on that team has gone on to skip a team at the Brier. Scott, you started as a lead in men or second in men's when you were playing with like John and I think. Yeah. But now you're a third and you've skipped at slams and stuff like that. I think it just shows how important every single position on a team is when someone can be a lead on a high-end team, but that person is also good enough to be a skip on a championship level team. I don't think people like it's the lead and the second aren't like where you stick the kids that aren't as good at curling. Like everybody on these teams is very, very good.
That's the way it used to be, DJ. Is back in the day when I started was unfortunately that it was by ability. The skip generally was the best player, the third, and down the road, which was terrible, and that's just the way it was. But in today's game, you cannot have a weak link. You just can't, and you have to have talent. And the other thing, and I think if there's any kids listening out there, you have to find people who really take ownership in the position they're in. You don't want a person playing lead who wants to be third. You don't want a person playing second who wants to be skip. They all have to really take ownership and then try and be the best lead and the best second and the best third. And the beauty with the free guard zone now is it just every position plays awesome shots. Like even the lead is so crucial to setting it. We talk about it all the time. If Tim has a rough game, it just throws us behind the eight ball. He has a great game. We're on the offense the whole time. And it's just a simple, just his first two rocks changes the whole complexion of the end in the game. And everybody's got to understand that's the way it is. And you have to have talented people as best as you can find in every position.
And I just think it makes it, I think anyways, for me and for young kids who are looking up to teams like you, if you're a lead on your bantam team, that doesn't mean you're not good or that you can't progress to whatever it is your goals are, right? To me, it's like, you see a Wayne Madonna, Peter Corner. I know I'm going back in time because I'm so old too, but you see those guys skipping and you're like, oh my God, they like just keep going, right? Like there's no need to keep growing as a curler and you can get to whatever level you want to get to, right?
Well, I'll just, I don't know whether Scott will maybe have a comment too, but one you bring up Wayne Madon, he's a perfect example. And we played together, we joined up, I think about 1989, 90 for about 4 or 5 years. And he was an up and coming, junior curler, he and his cousin, Pete, and they joined Russ and I. And Wayne was very, very vocal. He says, guys, I think we can be the best team in the world. And he's just a young kid at the time, and he goes, "But I'm going to learn as much as I can from you two because I want to skip one someday, and I'm going to go win a world championship on my own. But I'm going to be a sponge. I'm going to learn. You teach me everything you can possibly teach me." And he did. He was true to his word. We got one. I think it was in 94 is shortly after we win in 93, and in 94 we played another year, and then he moved on and sort of did his own thing, and obviously an accomplished career and world champion and so on and so forth. So, and he was a second at the time, like he was playing second, and he goes, "No, I'm going to learn. I'm going to get better, and I'm going to learn from the best." And he thought Russ and I were at the time, and you got to give him credit, and that's what I think everybody should aspire to. And again, And another good story is Kent Carstairs played in our world championship team in 1987. He goes, people says, "Oh, you've played lead all your life." He goes, "Yeah, I'm a world champion at lead, but maybe I'm not. I don't have it to be a skip." He says, "So I probably wouldn't be a world champion at skip. So I got really good at lead and got on a good team, and there you go." So.
Yeah, I guess, and to touch on that point, for any junior curlers out there, lead and second are so important. We talk with Tim and Dave and our team all the time, and they're hell of curlers, and for them to set up an end early, it just makes the back end's job so much easier. And just to keep going with it, and one day you'll get to the level where you can get at, and hopefully play back end and go to the slams and the Briers.
Everyone's dream, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It is.
All right, let's get to some more questions here that were sent in. This is from William at the Unionville Curling Club. And how much communication do you guys do before, during, and after a game? And does it change? And do you have a different plan for each team you face?
That's a good question. Yeah, we definitely talk before in the hotel room. We'll give it a little game plan, see how we're going to play against certain teams, what kind of strategy we want to come out and gate. It all depends on ice conditions. If we're feeling really good in the ice conditions, then we might go a little harder in the first couple ends, or if we're not too confident, then we'll lay back a little bit in the first couple ends, get our feet under us, and especially early in the year like it is this year. We're pretty conservative the first couple ends, but yeah, it all depends on the ice conditions, who you're playing, and then go from there. So.
Yeah, we'll do. We don't formalize it so much. Whereas a lot of teams, we don't have a coach. Like obviously, it's the four of us do it. We do like Scott says, a bit of a pregame. During the game, we communicate as much as possible, and then we do a bit of a debrief afterward. But it's not a sit down formal 45 minutes after. But we'll talk about the key points that we feel we need to address, whether it be ice, whether it be one of the players, whether it be communication, whatever the case may be. We will address it. But I think, to his point, William, I think what you're saying is communication is key. So the more you communicate with your team, again, before, during, and after, you nailed all three areas. That's important, and always the good with the bad. It's not always bad. We'll quite often talk about, geez, that was a great game, and Davey, you made that pistol in the fourth end, and that just got us going. It's always a feel good, and that keeps you pumped up. And because sometimes a lot of teams can get hung up on what went wrong all the time, as opposed to what went right. And we tend to just kind of massage all the areas. And but again, communication is super important.
In curling, it's so easy to blame an entire loss on one shot, and you ignore the 16 other perfect or 15 other perfect rocks you through.
So true,
yeah.
DJ. It's so true. Like, yeah. Exactly. And it's funny because, and as a skip too, you sometimes we could have played an amazing game, and if I miss my last shot, I just feel the whole weight of the world's on me. I've blown it. I've lost it. And then it eats at you. And then the good news, and again with our guys, if that happens, the last thing they do is jump on me. They'll go say, let's go have a couple of beers and then get ready for tomorrow. And because everybody knows what happened in that situation, so the words don't need to be spoken, but it's. To your point, and then there could be a pick in the fifth end. You go, oh, that lost us the game. Well, of course it didn't lose the game. It was just an unfortunate thing. But you're right. We're really quick to blame one thing.
Yeah. Well, it's just easy to identify, right? In terms of communication, is it different with you guys because you have two relationships, right? You've got a father-son relationship and you've got a skip-vice relationship. Those are different relationships. How do you keep them separate?
You go first.
Yeah, it's entertaining because we butt heads quite a bit, but you know what? Sometimes I just gotta shut my mouth and listen to the old guy. I think he knows a couple things or two.
You are recording this, right, DJ? This is that doesn't get cut.
I'll clip that part and send it to you so you can have it forever.
Put it on repeat.
No, I'm pretty vocal. I've got a pretty good opinion.
Very vocal.
But at the end of the day, I know he probably is 95% right. So we'll just go with that. And yeah.
It is. I mean, he's right. I like the fact, like, I obviously playing with three guys all half my age, and I respect their opinion, and I like a lot of input. Always have liked a lot of input, and people say, oh, you're Glenn Howard, you won this, you should be ruling the roost. Well, no, I always believe that you've got four sets of eyes out there, and I'm open to anything, and I might not like what you present to me, but I might love it. There's quite often the time they'll change my mind, and oh man, that's a great idea. And Scott and I for the most part, we get along pretty well. He'll say, geez, why are you so grumpy or whatever? And you said something like this. So the odd time we'll go back and forth, but for the most part, I don't know, what's this, how many, 4 years?
Yeah.
4 years been playing. We've it hasn't been really bad situations at all. And it can easily get that way because, and it was like playing my brother, blood. It's funny, you can tend to say more with your brother or your son or your dad or whatever, as opposed to other teammates where you don't want to maybe hurt their feelings. So it's good and bad, but in the long, it's worked so far. We're still playing together, so I guess it's okay.
And then that's what I got to comment on too. That's what I got total respect for my dad here is he's got probably more experience than three of us combined, but he always takes my input, Tim's input, Dave's input. If there's an important shot, we want the team involved. We want all four players involved. It's not like it's my dad saying this, blah blah blah. We take it as four players, and we get the front end involved, Dave and Tim. And there's times where Dave and Tim have better better ideas than we do. Then we make the right decision, we come to the right agreement and go from there. So it's pretty cool, and I totally respect my dad for letting us have some input on the team for sure.
Glenn, do you think that's part of your elongated success maybe? Because, I mean, your wins in 93, it was a different sport. Like, you know what was there even the 3-rock rule then?
Well, actually at 90, here's another interesting stat you may not know, DJ. In 93, we won the provincial championship with the 3-rock rule. We went to the Brier, and it was original rules curling, pre-3-rock, so just bang, bang, bang. Won that, went to the Worlds, and it was the 4-rock rule.
Yeah, the World did have 4. That's
we
right.
literally played 3 different rules in the same competition, and which was really entertaining. But yeah, I actually do think that's part of my longevity, DJ. I haven't pissed off too many people. I've had some amazing curlers that I've been able to play with. I've always been open-minded. I've never been a dictator by any stretch. It's just not in me. It's just not my makeup. And when I moved to skip, the same thing when I was third for my brother, I was trying to be a conduit between he and the front end, and I was just trying to support Russ. And then I learned from that position that when I became a skip, that again, there's just so much good advice and input, and like I said, 3 other sets of eyes out there that can give me a shot. And I have no trouble changing my mind. And a lot of skips hate that. If the shot makes sense, that I'm, another shot that I'm not playing, it makes more sense, and I'm going to play it. And like Scott says, I love the idea because that's a team decision. Okay, guys, you ready? Good with this shot? It might cost us. Nope, fine. And then that actually helps me. Because I don't want to let anybody down. Unfortunately, that's my makeup as well. And when I get that backing from the team, it actually helps me. And then usually I have a better chance of making the shot.
Yeah, I've always I get the psychology of not wanting to change a shot. But when you get to say you're at a slam, every skip on the ice can make any shot. You're in a slam, you're that good already. So the idea that they wouldn't want to change a shot, you can make it. We've seen every skip there make whatever the shot is before. So I get the psychology, I guess. But to me, if your teammates believe in something and there's a risk reward that makes sense, change a shot and make it. You're good.
Yeah, and it's funny, DJ. I kind of see the game evolving that way a little bit because I'm seeing more and more skips. Even the younger skips are being more attentive to that. They're not hung up on me being and that was where we were brought up. The skip was the be all and end all, and they called the shot no matter what. Don't comment, don't make and there is a psychological thing. If you get it, also the way it's presented is a big thing. It's like, oh my God, you can't play the shot. If you're something like that, you get taken aback, or God, if you ever miss this shot, you know what's going to happen. Well, then you get all that negative. The players have to understand, and that's a good team will understand what not to say to DJ if he's the skip, or what not to say to Glenn if he's the save, or how to present it. And again, over the years, Rich Hart's a perfect example of that. When he played third for me, he just knew how to, in critical situations, he knew what to say to me to get the best out of Glenn. And, Scott's learning the same thing. And he knows not to jump on my back if I've missed a shot. So, that's why every teammate has to learn how each other ticks. So I think that's really important.
So on that note, because we have a question that kind of goes right to that. So I'm going to go to it here. This is from Haley and the London Curling Club. What steps do you take to move past a bad shot or game so that it doesn't affect your whole game or bonspiel?
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about that a little earlier, but the biggest thing is you have to let it go. If you miss a shot, it is what it is. Move on, move to your next shot, and put 100% focus onto the next shot. That last shot, it's gone. You can make your shot 110% that much better, or sweep a little bit more. You have to let it go, because it can affect your next end, your next 4 shots, and then that could end up costing you the game. So unfortunately, you just have to let it go and move forward. And positive encouragement from your front end and your back end definitely goes a long way. You know what, Tim, I got to give Tim a lot of credit here. He is probably the most positive curler I know on the planet. If I miss a shot, or if my dad misses a shot, Dave misses a shot, he's the first one to say, you know what, I'll pick it up on your sweeping next time, or I'll pick it up next end. Like, he is the first one to blame himself, and he's the first one to pump your tires on your team. So full credit to Tim, because he's super positive. And for curlers out there, you need that kind of encouragement to move forward. It's the worst feeling in the world to miss a shot at any level, and to get that positive encouragement, and we have your 3 other teammates on your back to move forward, is exactly what that person needs.
Yeah, I'll jump on that and to agree with Scott. Tim is unbelievable, and he's really, I think, helped all 3 of us. We've become better curlers because we can drop the bad shots, and he, like you said, he's always upbeat, and I hope he's listening, because this is good. He's going to sweep hard. He should sweep harder this weekend, because we're pumping up his tires. But yeah, it's funny, DJ. I've over my career, as I more experience, I think I've learned to deal with it a little better. The younger you are, you're quick, you snap, and you upset, you bang your broom, and you miss another shot because of it. And experience has realized, to what Scott says, and it's easier said than done, just drop it. Well, it's not always that easy. If you can drop it, do it. If just whatever you do, just try not to let it affect your next shot. Like, if I miss a bad shot in a game, it will bug me the entire night. I can usually get through a game with it. And to me, it should bug you to a degree, because then I think you have to learn from it. You find out what went wrong, why did you miss a shot, what's the situation, learn from it, and so hopefully you can, maybe if you get in that situation again, a similar shot, you don't miss, you make it the next time. But on the same token, you do, to Scott's point, you got to drop it at the very least prior to the next game, or prior to the next shot, or the next end. And that is really easier said than done, because if you're thinking about that, you're clearly not thinking about your next shot, and you're just not going to give it 100%.
You guys find, because you've all played multiple positions. So for me, I mean, I never played at your level, but when I was like a lead or a second, I would find it easier to miss a shot, because I had to focus right away. I had to sweep. I had to judge weight. All right, it doesn't matter because we're busy right now. But like, if you skip and you miss, then you get to walk down to the other ends, and the first 4 rocks, you know what you're calling anyways. So you're just letting it stew in there. So for me, it was much harder being like a back end player and missing a shot. And I don't think it's because of the severity of the shot in the end, and in the terms of, it's just because I didn't have somewhere to put it, right? When you were lead or front end, you just have somewhere to put that energy. Did you find it different at different positions?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I get your point for sure. Obviously, if someone misses a shot, say the skip misses a shot in one end, then the lead, you're jumping right back in the hack, and you're starting the next end, and unfortunately, you've got that kind of maybe in your back mind. But like I said, you have to let it go, move on to the next end, and just keep moving forward. But yeah, for different positions, it's hard to say. Missing shots is never fun.
No.
Like I said, you have to get over it, and you have to find what works for you and what works for the team. Like, back to my other point, positive encouragement, pat on the back, as crazy as it sounds, is the most positive encouragement they can get from a teammate, and it just makes you feel that much better, and you're that much more prepared for your next shot.
All right, let's go to another one here. Another question. What do we got here? Glenn, this is going to be hard for you, but I bet you could adapt it for when you were a kid anyways. So this is Hannah from Stroud. What's your favorite part of curling back when you were in Little Rocks, or juniors for you, Glenn?
Favorite part, I think, would have been just getting out and throwing rocks with my dad and my brother at the time. Russ is about 6.5 years older than me, so I would have been, 9, 10 years old when I get started. So Russ would be in his teens. I looked up to Big Brother, having my dad out there. He was really the only coach or sort of instructor that Russ and I ever had growing up. He was a really good athlete in his day of all kinds of sports, but he was a technician. He was one of those guys that you had the proper golf grip, so you have the proper curling delivery. Your sons, if you have a good delivery, it'll never let you down in a key situation. He's already thinking ahead of the time, and just being out with him, and he passed away. I guess he passed away in 2002, and he missed a couple of. He missed a world championship by me skipping, and my brother winning the gold medal in 2006. That's my only regret. But so on that same token, just being out with my dad and my brother back in the day brings back great memories.
Scott?
For me, probably would have been we'd throw rocks for an hour and then we'd come in and have hot chocolate and Timbits.
Yeah, you do.
but on a serious note, though, honestly, just going out there with a bunch of friends, throwing rocks, and trying to be the best little rocker you could, trying to take as much input as you can from all the coaches. There's a lot of great coaches out there that can give you a lot of input, and it makes you that much more ahead moving into Bantam. So take as much input as you can from the coaches, and like my dad says, try to get that solid delivery as fast as you can. Mm-hmm. It's not going to let you down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've taught at Trillium for a bunch of years, and the basic, it sounds ridiculous, but the basic Howard slide is what you teach, right? Turn the foot out a bit, get your leg under your sternum. It's repeat it over and over again, right? Like that's the most as repeatable a delivery as you can get. And then, like you say, you get under stress, and it's there. It's muscle memory. It's just it's the same every time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it just is what it is. But for me, and what I loved about Little Rocks, well, I played juniors, is just the incremental wins, right? Like that first time you made a perfect draw around a guard. Like it's just, it doesn't matter. It's just you. It's It's that little goal you set yourself when you're 10, right? And the first time you make a run back, oh my God, that's the coolest thing.
You won the lottery. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's cool. I know what you mean, but you're right. And even today, DJ, you make a few shots, it's like, oh my God, you feel so good when a shot comes off. So you're right. As a little rocker, where obviously they're few and far between, and when you make a great shot, you're right. You could probably remember the first come around to the forfeit that you made, and that's a couple of years ago, I guess. So
yeah, 1 or 2.
So that's so cool. It's like I said, it's very similar to golf. When you hit a really good shot, it makes you keep coming back. Curling's the same thing. You make a couple of great shots, I got to keep doing this and get back and do it again.
Is your experience winning, right? Like you've been to 19 Briers?
17.
17? Sorry. Maybe it'll be 19.
Yeah, I hope so.
But, like curling's changed over the years. The Brier's always been huge. But, you go to these slams, you go to these Briers, it's got to be hard to give that up, right? Like it's like, how do you give that up? It's like the greatest week of the year every year.
Yeah, and obviously I'll jump in that one, DJ. You're right. I remember my first Brier. I remember my 17th Brier, and I remember all the ones in between. And I've loved every minute of it. Like the last few, and I'm obviously in my mid 50s, and I'm going to a Brier. I'm giddy. I'm just as giddy as I was when I was 23 when I went to my first one. And it's the epitome of curling, and obviously for Canadian to get to a Brier, and the Scotties for the women. You're playing about the best of the best, and just to play on the ice surface with all these guys, and then obviously if you do well is icing on the cake. But and Scott's the same. He's been to a few Briers himself, and at a young age, and some great curlers won't ever get to a Brier, and that's sad, but it's true. There's some that just won't get there, and I feel bad because I think I wish everybody could go, because it is an amazing week and a ton of fun and great experience.
Ontario has some incredible curlers, but they have to beat Glenn Howard and John Epping to have a chance. Like that's real hard.
Yeah, you're right. They do. On the same token, John Epping and Glenn Howard were in the position when they had to beat so and so and so and so, and let's random Joe Blow, who's out there right now, thinks he's pretty good, and he is pretty good. Just work at it. Get out there. Get 3 other guys you want to curl with. Have fun. You're going to have to spend a little time in the curling rink. You got to make shots. And then just get yourself better and try and play against as many good teams you can. Get experience. That's what my brother and I did. We played against the best. Got in airplanes, flew all over the country. We were nobodies, and we just wanted to get better. And fortunately we did, and this can happen to anybody. Anybody can do it. It's just you've really got to work at it, and you got to put some time and effort into it.
So you've both worked at it. You both put time and effort at it. The last question I'm going to ask you is, you've both won a gajillion games. Which one do you remember the most for each one of you? One win.
One win.
Well, there's a couple wins. Probably
one
win.
Put you on the spot.
You're only 30. I'm 58.
I gotta say two.
No, one.
Okay.
Don't change the rules.
Beating my dad in the 2012 Players Championship Final. That was my first and only Grand Slam. We were on a roll that week, and we ended up beating him in the final. And to win a Grand Slam was incredible. It was one of my best. Well, it's probably one of my best accomplishments to date. Yeah, that would probably be my number one game so far. I'd like to say a couple more provincial finals, but hopefully one day I can get a Brier winning. But that Players Championship in 2012 wouldn't be my number one, and because I beat this guy.
To pick one, oh man, I'm gonna go right back to the '87 Brier final. That's obviously playing third for my brother. Kent Carstairs, Tim Belcourt beat Bernie, the legendary Bernie Sparks, who everybody looked up to. At that point, he'd been to like 12 Briers, and this is my second, 24 years old. And my brother, who I thought was obviously the best curler that ever lived. And for us to beat him in the final, one down with coming home took 5. I can remember I got a picture in my house here, me jumping in the air. That's got to be sit there. The first Brier win definitely has to be up there with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The first time has to be, because you just don't know what could either one of you imagine 15 years ago, Scott, you're in juniors bantam, and Glenn, 25, well, no, longer than that, sorry, 30 years ago, you're just getting to your first Brier. Could you imagine what the resume was going to look like?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that, because I've always dreamt to curl with my dad. And just, I never thought that they would come, because he's had so much success to pick me up, and well, how old he is right now. But honestly, it was a dream come true the day he said, you know what, I'd love for you to play on my team. So it meant a lot to me. I've always waited for that day, and I never thought it was going to come. But to be here, standing beside him, playing on his curling team it's the best. It's the best feeling in the world. I'm so happy to play every day with him.
Awesome. And the same, DJ. Like I think back. I got to my first Brier in '86, and you just, and everyone I've been to, I just think that this is probably my last, because it's so hard. It's so hard to win Ontario. It's just so hard. Fortunately, went to 7 quickly, and then I went on about a 12 or 13 year hiatus that you just think I'm never ever getting back, and then lo and behold, started skipping and got a great, unbelievable team in front of me. We won 8 straight, and then had a little bit of hiatus, and then Scott joined, and we won another couple more in a row, and then obviously to end my career with Scott playing with me is a dream come true for me as well. And I didn't know whether it was going to happen, because we were so competitive with our other teams, and we were doing what we're doing, and Scott was on some really good teams as well. And I finally, it just kind of hit me at the end of one season. I thought, you know what, I'm near the end of my career. I want to play a couple of good years with Scott to see what we can do. And I'm so happy that he obviously jumped on board. He played front end for a little bit, and now playing third is just, it's incredible. And it's rejuvenated me. Like I'm 58. I'm still up there. I went through rocks today. I'm still want to play the game. We're still competitive. Are we the best in the world? No, but we can beat the best in the world. And we've proven that over the last 4 or 5 years. We've beat all the best teams. We've beaten them. And we're probably just not as consistent as I'd like to see us, but we can, if we get it on the right roll, we can do damage, and that keeps me going. It gets me excited to get back out there, and obviously with the kid beside me, and he makes a few shots as well. We're having a lot of fun.
The enthusiasm's awesome. Like I can feel it through the screen. That's awesome. Do you have any sponsors or anything you want to shout out here?
We do. We've got 6. We've got VR Mechanical, mechanical contracting company in Toronto. John Stewart and Vic Rankin have been with me and Team Howard for forever, which great sponsor, and they're just so supportive of Team Howard. The Beer Store. The Beer Store is another one. My president, Ted Moraz. I was 38 years with the Beer Store, and Ted came through last year, and I've got the Beer Store on our jerseys now. BrokerLink Insurance. Dave E. Mathers is an employee of BrokerLink, and they've been fantastic over the many years we played with Dave. Balance Plus Curling Supplies, Scott Taylor, Dale Matchett from Balance Plus. Again, I've had nothing but Balance Plus on my feet and gloves and brooms in my hand as long as I've curled. Two other ones, we've got Kathy L. Toon Accounting Firm. That's Tim March works for Kathy. That's Kathy's actually Tim's mother-in-law, and she's been fantastic to support us along the way. And our last but not least is JD Barnes, which is gets a land surveying company that has come on support us. And you know, DJ, without any of these sponsors, we couldn't do what we do. And on the behalf of Team Howard, we can't thank them enough for supporting us and keeping us out in the ice and enabling us to do and play the sport that we love to do. And I thank all 6 of them, and hopefully there are more years to come if we continue to curl.
Exactly.
I've always said I'm a small town guy, so I always say, like, shop local, support your small little coffee shops or whatever in the town you live in. But also, you know, if there's a team that you love or whatever, support those sponsors too, because if they get a return, then you get a return, right? Like, you get more of the teams that you love, you get more of the sport you love. So I always say that too. If you love curling, support the companies that support curling, right? It's as simple as that.
Good for you, DJ, because I know all the curlers do that. Like the first, you know, I want to get something for my car, I think of Princess Auto, because I know, you know, the Carruthers and McEwen are sponsored by them. It's just, it's ingrained in us, and you have to, because I know they need the sponsorship to move on, and all us curlers, we need those monies and that support to be able to do what we love to do. We're not millionaires, and we don't have, but these sponsors enable us to go out and put on a pretty good show over a curling year.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thanks, DJ.
Thanks, DJ.